Welcome to Season 2 of the Shekina Meditation Podcast, created by community members and friends of Shekina Garden in Pai, Thailand. Shekina communities are dedicated to creating free devotional spaces of Christian practice for spiritual seekers and travelers around the world. We post Christ-centered guided meditation each week to help you in your personal or small group practice. You can find episode show notes and other information at shekinacommunity.com.
Hey guys, Ro and Ray here. It's Season 2, Episode 16 of the podcast.
Hi.
Hello. So as always, our beautiful patrons are supporting this podcast.
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you. We're raising money to help keep our community running, and our patronage is a part of the way that we do that. So you can find us over at patreon.com/Shekina Meditation Podcast and support us for as little as $1 or more per month.
And another way you can support us is by rating, reviewing, or sharing our podcast on iTunes, on Spotify, on YouTube. Just share it however way you want. You can share the post directly from the blog. Whatever it is that you do to tell people about podcasts you love, if you want to share it, we're very happy for that to happen.
You might even want to grab a friend and say, hey, let's meditate together. We could light a candle, we could sit quietly, we could have a nice cup of tea, and we could sit and listen to this together.
Yeah, it's a highly recommended practice on our side.
Yes. So when you support this podcast, we know that you appreciate that we're putting this out into the world.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I actually got a couple of messages this week from our friend Ellen, who's been listening as she goes to bed.
Oh, beautiful.
So we love you, Ellen. Thanks for listening.
Ellen. Thank you. So today's meditation is a Lectio Divina on Psalm 23 with Ro. Ro will offer some exercises to help you bring your mind into a quiet space where you're ready for meditation and calm and time away from everything else. And then she will guide you through the verses with silence in between and maybe a few suggestions or guided questions. We recommend that you spend some time after you're done with the meditation processing. You can do this with a group if you're with a group by having a little talking circle and passing a stick or a stone around. Or if you're on your own, you can spend some time journaling or putting bullet points down or drawing or just finding a way to remember what you really want to remember from your experience with the podcast and with the meditation.
So let's begin. Welcome to Shekina Meditation. Let's begin by finding a comfortable seated position with a long spine, a position that we can hold for some time, where we can breathe easily and comfortably. We can let our eyes gently close. And let's bring our attention to our breath. Not changing how we're breathing, but just noticing our breath. Noticing the parts of our body that move as we breathe in and out.
Noticing all the different sensations of our breath. Noticing the rhythm of our breath. Allowing our breath to connect us to this present moment. We can't store up our breath or save it for later. So focusing on our breath is a great way to bring us into the present. If our attention drifts, just gently bringing it back to the breath. Let's also let our attention now move to the sounds around us. Wherever we are, we can notice different sounds near and far, made by humans or animals. Let's let our attention move gently from sound to sound, noticing each one, perhaps imagining in our mind's eye what is making that sound, and moving on to the next sound. Noticing small sounds, big sounds. Seeing if we can identify the furthest sound. The sound that's the furthest away from us. Imagining what's making that sound. And then identifying the closest sound to you. What's making that sound? Leaving the world of sound now and going inward to notice what's happening in our minds. Noticing our thoughts. You might like to imagine that your thoughts are like a stream or a river, and that you're a little bird in a tree next to the stream, looking down and just noticing the thoughts as they drift by. You're separate from them, but you can see them and notice them. And you can notice as they drift by. Noticing all the different sorts of thoughts that we might have. Not judging our thoughts, but just noticing them, acknowledging them, and then allowing them to float downstream. You might like to imagine flying a little higher up into the tree now, so that you can still see the stream, still notice the thoughts, but perhaps be a little more distant from them. It's normal for our minds in meditation to have all sorts of different thoughts, all sorts of different distractions. We're just taking this time now to notice them and to just set them aside, let them float downstream, where they don't need to bother us for this meditation time. We can put them away, put them to the side, just let them drift downstream. Now we might like to imagine flying all the way up to the top of the tree into the canopy so that we can't see the stream at all, so that the thoughts are out of our sight and all that is above us is just a clear blue sky. If at any time in our meditation we find ourselves distracted again by thoughts, it's perfectly normal. We can return again to this image of sitting in the top of the tree as a small bird. The thoughts can float downstream, and we can look up into the clear sky. As we turn to the next section of our meditation, the reading of Scripture, and as we acknowledge the divine presence with us, we might like to turn our palms upward in our laps or on our knees as a sign of receiving from the divine, a sign of listening. As we read these words, perhaps we can ask the divine, what is it you would say to me through these words today? I'll be reading from Psalm 23, a psalm written by David, a king of Israel, a poet, a warrior, a songwriter. For this first reading, I'll just be reading all the way through. I just invite you to let the words wash over you, let them go by you, perhaps looking for one word or one phrase that stands out to you above the rest. There's no wrong way to do this. There's no wrong way to let these words speak to us today. Let's just be open to the divine and see what happens. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. For this second reading, I'll read each line twice, with a couple of minutes silence in between. Again, we might like to ask the Divine to speak to us through these words. And again, we might like to look for a certain word or phrase that stands out for us. We might like to ask the Divine, why do I need to hear this today? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. For our third and final reading, I'll read through this psalm one more time, a little slowly. And I want to invite us to respond back to God. Whatever our truest, most genuine and honest response is to these words. We might like to imagine perhaps that we're sitting in the top of that tree again as a little bird, looking up into the sky. Or perhaps you'd like to choose somewhere else to imagine that you're sitting with God, responding back to these words. Any response is welcome. God welcomes our honesty, our true response. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. for the final part of this section of our meditation, let's consider if there's anything we want to take with us from this meditation experience. Something we want to remember, the divine presence drawing to our attention. Something we've been reminded of. Something we want to live out in our lives from this meditation today. Just taking a moment or two to consider what this might be. Let's begin to bring our attention back to the present moment, back to the here and now, out of our meditation time and back perhaps into the presence of others. When we're ready, we can share a talking circle or some other reflection if we're meditating by ourselves today. Some other reflection on our meditation experience today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining today. There will be a new guided meditation available each week, so don't forget to subscribe to iTunes or sign up for our newsletter to get podcasts delivered to your inbox at www.shekinacommunity.com/podcast newsletter. Also, you can rate or review on iTunes or sign up as a patron at patreon.com/Shekina Meditation Podcast. Have a beautiful week.